everyone. So I'm going to be reading Magic Finger by Roald Dahl. It's one of my favourite books when I was a child. So, here we go. The farm next to ours is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Gregg. The Greggs have 2 children, both of them boys. Their names are Philip and William. Sometimes I go over to their farm to play with them. I'm a girl and I'm 8 years old. Philip is also 8 years old. William is 3 years older. He's 10. What? Oh, all right then, he's 11. Last week something very funny happened to the Gregg family. I'm going to tell you about it as best as I can. Now, the one thing that Mr. Gregg and his 2 boys loved to do more than anything was to go hunting. Every Saturday morning they would take their guns and go off into the woods to look for animals and birds to shoot. Even Philip, who was only 8 years old, had a gun of his own. I can't stand hunting. I just can't stand it. It doesn't seem right to me that boys and men can go off hunting and killing animals just for the fun of it. So I used to try and stop Philip and William from doing it. Every time I went over to their farm, I would try my best to talk them out of it. But they only laughed at me. I even said something about it once to Mr. Gregg, but he just walked past me as if I wasn't there. Then one Saturday morning, I saw Philip and William coming out of the woods with their father, and they were carrying a lovely young deer. It was dead. This made me so cross that I started shouting at them. The boys laughed and made faces at me, and Mr. Gregg told me to go home and mind my P's and Q's. Well, that did it. I saw red. And before I was able to stop myself, I did something I never meant to do. I put the magic finger on them all. Oh dear, I even put it on Mrs. Gregg, who wasn't even there. I put it on the whole Gregg family. For months I had been telling myself that I would never put the magic finger upon anyone again. Not after what happened to my teacher, old Mrs. Winter. Poor old Mrs. Winter. One day we were in class and she was teaching us spelling. "Stand up," she said to me, "and spell cat." "That's an easy one," I said. "K-A-T." "You are a stupid little girl," Mrs. Winter said. "I'm not a stupid little girl," I cried. "I am a very nice little girl." "Go and stand in the corner," Mrs. Winter said. Then I got cross, and I saw red, and I put the magic finger on Mrs. Winter good and strong, and almost at once, guess what? Whiskers began growing out of her face. They were long black whiskers, just like the ones you see on a cat, only much bigger. And how fast they grew! Before we had time to think, they were out to her ears. Of course, the whole class started screaming with laughter. And then Mrs. Winter said, "Will you be so kind as to tell me what you find so madly funny, all of you?" And when she turned around to write something on the blackboard, we saw that she'd grown a tail as well, a huge bushy tail. I cannot begin to tell you what happened after that, but if any of you are wondering whether Mrs. Winter's quite all right now, the answer is no, and she never will be. The magic finger is something I've been able to do all my life. I can't tell you how I do it, because I don't even know myself. But it always happens when I'm cross, when I see red. Then I get very, very hot all over, and the tip of my forefinger on my right hand begins to tingle most terribly, and suddenly a sort of flash comes out of me, a quick flash, like something electric. It jumps out and touches the person that's made me cross. And after that the magic finger is upon him or her and things begin to happen. Well, the magic finger was now upon the whole Gregg family, and there was no taking it off again. I ran home and waited for things to happen. They happened fast. I shall now tell you what those things were. I got the whole story from Philip and William the next morning, after it was all over. Wonder what happened.